Welcome to Silver Linings Talk Show, and we are on location today at Meggs Point Nature Center at Hammonasset Beach State Park. And I am so excited to be showing you some amazing things today and introducing you to Ranger Russ and his amazing support staff. And we have one person here with us today, Susan.
Hi.
And I wanted to first touch base with Susan because certainly Ranger Russ cannot do all of this by himself, and we get to talk more with him later. But Susan, let's kind of just quickly talk with you. You are a support staff and volunteer here, and I would love to know what you do and certainly what brought you here to want to volunteer.
Sure, I'll start with why I'm volunteering.
Yeah.
And there really, I think, are three reasons. One is I loved this place as a child growing up, my children growing up and bringing them here.
So you've always lived in the area?
Lived in the area, and
Nice.
this is my opportunity to give back, make sure that the center is open, and for other people to come and enjoy. So that's one reason. The other reason is I love the nature, and being a volunteer here, you learn a lot about the animals, what's outside, what's inside, and that's a lot of fun as well. And then the third reason is seeing the wonder and joy in all the people's faces when they walk into the nature center and they see the wonderful tanks we have or the turtles, and you just see their faces light up and the kids have so much fun. So that's just three reasons.
And I want to just share, as someone who has been here, visiting the beach and bringing family here, is the kids are loving it, but the adults are loving the information. Like, they're learning a lot about these local animals, which is so exciting. So absolutely, the kids are having fun, but so are the adults.
Right. We have a board outside in the entryway where the adults can come in and record the birds they've seen.
Oh.
So you see a lot of excitement when they come in and say, I just saw XYZ bird, and they get to write it down.
Yes. And so what do you do here as a volunteer?
Well, as a volunteer, I actually do two roles for the Nature Center. The first role is as a docent, and I point this way because that's our entryway.
Okay.
And I stand there, sit there with another volunteer, and we welcome everybody coming into the Nature Center. It's always fun to say, hi, where are you from? Particularly, it's exciting if someone's from out of state or even out of country. But we do record where everybody's from and how many visitors we get. So that's one role. And then we describe the center to them in terms of the four areas we have: the air room, the water room, the beach room, and the woods and the animals they can find there. And then part of the docent role would be to come into the rooms and explain the animals, point out sometimes the fish is hiding, so you can point out fish that they don't see, or describe the turtles. So, different roles we can play as a docent. And then my other role is a volunteer to do animal care.
Okay.
So I have been trained to feed the birds, which I do. I've been trained to feed the fish and the amphibians. So I do come in certain days to do that volunteer role as well. So again, I would say anybody who's really interested in volunteering and looking for something to do, this is a wonderful place to do it.
I love it. And I'm thinking we're in the water room.
Yes.
Very cool. I love this. Thank you so much
you're
for
welcome.
taking a few minutes out of your day and spending it with us. And I absolutely encourage people to come down, but check out being a volunteer and what that means and how you can give back and support the Nature Center and support your local, environment and waters and our little creatures. Thank you.
Thank you.
So great to be here at Meggs Point Nature Center today. So Russ, I'd really love to know what got you into being a ranger. I mean, was this a passion of yours all your life?
Absolutely. That's actually a long answer because it started when I was 3 or 4 years old. From the very beginning, when people would ask me what I wanted to do when I grew up, the answer was I was going to work for Smokey Bear. And I started bringing animals home when I was a child, much to my mother's dismay sometimes, because I was bringing snakes, and she's not a fan of snakes, into the house. I did all the things that kids do, but it never went away. So my passion, my enthusiasm, she started taking me to local nature centers for classes when I was 6 years old. I took a birding class, and my education and everything from that point has been to be where I am now.
That's so cool. I kind of think that you never outgrew it then.
Nope.
Wonderful. I think Diane has something to ask you now.
I am very curious. What is it like as a day to be a ranger and have this whole beautiful place at your hands? What do you do?
Life?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's never going to be the same. I do have a script, a list of things that I need to get done every morning, but very rarely does it stick to script. There are animals to be rescued sometimes. I have to fill in if one of our greeters is not able to come in. Animal care, you never know when there's going to be like an animal emergency, a tank leaking or something like that. So it really can be a little of everything. I tell people I could start out the day out in the salt marsh with a bunch of third graders, end the day doing a program for senior citizens, and in between taking care of 25 or 30 different animals.
Okay. Wow.
Which for me is fantastic. I love it.
Okay, but let's get back to the original list. What's on that list? I'm curious, because if those other things aren't, what's on that list?
So the original list is a little bit of animal care. I want to walk through both buildings. We have two buildings. There are lots of animals in them, so my first thing is to walk through and check on all the animals. I'm looking for things that are going wrong, leaky tanks, things like that. There's always a little of that. Adding water to tanks, that's 2 hours of the day right there, is going through all of those things. Then there's things like checking emails, not my favorite part of the job, but then I get to reach out and contact the people that have reached out to me. So I'm calling school teachers and making arrangements for programs and things like that.
The fun part. The fun part.
Now,
I love that.
I'm curious, could you give us a list of some animals that are here at the Nature Center?
In the building?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So right in front of us, we have skates, lobsters. There are crabs, snails. We have numerous species of fish. We've got 2 species of birds, snakes, turtles, amphibians, frogs and salamanders. In the other building, we have another building. There are some mice and some other animals that will be either moved into here or are being raised to feed the animals over here. So there are feeder fish over there that get put in the tank for other fish to eat. We have a whole ecosystem happening within the building.
Okay. Very interesting.
So there's a question here that might tie into where you just went. Are you collecting scientific information on these species and the impacts on the environment as you're rescuing them?
That's a really good question, and we do not directly do the research. There is a lot of research that happens here at Hammonasset, so there are colleges and universities that come here and set up experiments and research projects. The Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, who we work for, also comes down, and they do wildlife surveys and different research as well. We used to be part of some of the research, and sometimes they will ask us to take data for them, but currently we are not collecting data for research projects. That being said, we do collect data for our school groups. So we will bring school groups out, they will test the water, they get to bring that data home, and then the next school group, we're trying to compile the data so that they can compare their data point to a month from now when another school comes out and does it, and that gives them more base for their research. So just one data point is great, and usually that's all teachers expect, but having other data points that they can look at and compare changes of season, changes in temperature, it adds a lot to their research.
Ooh, does that relate to climate change at all and environmental issues?
Yeah, climate change is a big one nowadays, and it's becoming more and more important to us. So that one, really, we're looking at heights, tide height, which has changed drastically. I've been here 20 years, and I have seen the difference in the tide height.
What do you see?
Well, we had to move the road. The main road coming out here had to be moved further away from the marsh because every high tide began to cover it. Where when I first started, it was storm surge high tides. That was the only time that the road would be covered. And we moved the road away because it was flooding constantly. The lower parts of the parking lots are flooding pretty regularly. There are places, small salt ponds that are becoming deeper and more permanent, where they were just a temporary, the water would flow in and out. Now there's water there all the time. So a lot of changes in that way.
Very interesting.
So at this point, do you see that you're going to have to be doing the same thing soon, moving the roads?
It gets to a certain point where we're not able to move the road. When we built this building, so this building was completed in 2016, the contractor was joking because they built this really durable building. It's built to withstand, hurricanes and everything. The joke was that by the time I retired, I would have to take boats and bring the students out here to do it. We're not to that point, and I don't think we'll reach that point before I retire. But if we do, I'm flexible enough, and we will be doing that, because I can't see this building closing.
Well, that's a sad fact. So how can the public support this cause, this organization, and maybe not just global warming, but impact the organization here, whether it be funding or, recognize this global warming issue?
Well, we, again, are a state of Connecticut facility, so it's a little bit harder to donate to the state. But we have a nonprofit organization that contributes back to the Nature Center, and that's the Friends of Hammonasset. When you look around this building, the state built the building, the Friends filled the building. All of the exhibits were sponsored by the Friends of Hammonasset. They've spent over $650,000 so far on exhibits, and we still have future projects that we're working on. So you can always contribute to the Friends of Hammonasset. There are other nonprofits within the park that have helped us, and we work very closely with them. Monunkatuck Audubon, the Shoreline Greenway Trail. There are organizations that are supportive of us and our cause, and if you want to help, you can volunteer with any of those groups or donate to any of those groups.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is a wealth of information, I think, that people can tap into. So we greatly appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we could not let Ranger Russ leave without us being able to see one of the little animals. And as Susan talked about earlier, there are 4 different rooms. So now we are in the woods. So I want to, and we're all together again. So Ranger Russ, I wanted to kind of turn it over to you. And if you can tell us a little bit about this beautiful, cute turtle.
Certainly. So this is a diamondback terrapin. It's a brackish water turtle, which means it lives where fresh and salt water mix together. It is our only resident turtle in our brackish water systems along the coast of Connecticut. And for most of our turtles, actually most of the animals in this room were pets at one time, and people were no longer able to take care of them. Some of them should never have been brought into captivity. And I think when people realize that they have an animal that they shouldn't have as a pet, like our box turtles over there, then they bring them to us, and we can take care of them. We can legally have them. We use them for education. Typically, we don't give out their names. They do have names so that when they go to the vet, they don't just have a number. But we don't want people to think of these as pets. So we really try and encourage people to allow wild animals to be wild animals. And, I don't like to see animals in cages as much as you see all of that we have here. It's really for education. And
I'm sure that they have lots of opportunities, that they're taken out, that they're played, like people are holding snakes and, challenging themselves a little with holding a snake. That would be me. And, really enjoying and learning about all of the animals here.
Yeah, all the animals here are used for programs or for education in some way or another. And they do get their exercise time. At feeding time, they get to run around on the floor and get some exercise. In the summer, one of our junior volunteer jobs, and it's probably the favorite job of our junior volunteers, is to walk the turtles. So you take them out, let them just wander around in the grass for 20 minutes or so.
How do you get to be a junior volunteer?
And how old do you have to be?
You have to be 13 to 18
Oh, darn.
are junior volunteers.
You might have a line out the door.
We probably already do.
Yeah. Very cool. Awesome.
And wondering certainly what changes of species you may have noticed since earlier we talked about some of the warming or some of the changes that are happening with the waters.
So the major one that we notice, because we're right on the beach, are the species. We used to find lots of spider crabs, sea stars, lobsters. All of those are rare if you can find them at all. And we're seeing animals that like warmer water, like our whelks, the large snails, some of the different species of crabs. Those numbers are going up as the animals that don't like the warm water numbers are going down.
Very
Wow.
interesting.
Yes. And something you talked about earlier is certainly how people can just continue to support the beach and the safety of the animals by taking care of their trash.
Yeah. That's a big one. You know, I always talk about the number of people that live in the state of Connecticut. What do we have, 6 million people or something that live in the state? If each of those people picked up one piece of trash a day, it would become very difficult to find trash. Unfortunately, not all of them are picking up trash, and many of them are leaving trash behind. I know that sometimes trash gets out there accidentally, wind or something like that. But if people made an effort just to pick up one piece of trash a day, it really would make a difference.
Well, it is Earth Month, so
Yes.
there's no longer just an Earth Day. So it's a
Right.
great place to start. And the first place to start is your own neighborhood. So let's make a challenge for everyone out there.
Yes.
Would that be a good thing?
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. Every day, pick up one piece of trash.
Yep.
And how about leave with your trash,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Leave with
make
your
sure
trash.
it's secured and that you don't let it blow out of your car when you open your car door.
So something else interesting you had mentioned earlier that I think is just so important for people to know is a rating of the waters here. And can you talk a little bit about that and what has happened since you've been here?
Absolutely. So going back a few years, when I was in high school, the hypoxic levels, which is the lack of oxygen in Long Island Sound, was so high that the species were declining. All the species were declining drastically. And they actually thought that it was possible that we would lose all the life in Long Island Sound. We have turned that around, and they do a grading system, just like the old school grading system, A through F of the water. And most of Long Island Sound is now reaching an A. Except
Wow,
the far
awesome.
New York end is the only one, and that hasn't changed since I've been here. And they're an F, and they're trying, and they're doing a lot of things down there to try and clean the water. But the Long Island Sound is definitely, the water quality is getting better. We're able to open up more and more shellfish beds, which are always a good sign. When you can eat the shellfish, that means it's healthy.
That is amazing and awesome. It's good for the swimmers. It's good for the animals. It's good for probably all the plant life.
Absolutely, everything.
Awesome. So thank you again for having us. This has been such a pleasure to come down here and talk with you, Ranger Russ, to meet Susan, to explore the water, to explore the woods, and to meet this little animal. It's super cute. And we just really encourage everyone to come down to Meg's Point Nature Center at Hammonasset Beach State Park. It is a wonderful, beautiful place to be inspired and to learn about our shoreline environment, our waters, and our animals. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So we had to bring you out to Hammonasset Beach State Park so you could get a view of the water that Russ was referring to, because this is an amazing beach to come to. Maybe not when it's 31 degrees, but we're braving it for you all.
This is called New England weather. It is the end of March, and this weekend it was probably 60. Today it's 30. But here we are,
Never know what you're gonna get.
all bundled up, and just wanted to show you the beauty of Hammonasset Beach State Park, and certainly just highlight the fact of Mother Earth, and it is Earth Month. April 22nd is Earth Day, and it's just, we really want to keep our waters and our beaches and our animals and all of our sea life healthy, and we want to keep an A rating. Woohoo! So just kind of enjoy the beauty of this beach with us now.